Welcome to Public Health on Call, a podcast from the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. I'm Joshua Sharfstein, Vice Dean for Public Health Practice and Community Engagement, and a former health commissioner here in Baltimore. Our goal is to bring evidence and experience to illuminate critical public health issues. If you have questions or ideas for us, please send an email to publichealthquestion@jhu.edu. That's publichealthquestion@jhu.edu for future podcast episodes. Today, we head to Jackson, Mississippi for an interview with Dr. Mara Munger, a public health professional and community advocate who has lived in Jackson her whole life. She runs an initiative called the She Project to train young women in Jackson to be leaders. You can read more about the She Project, including how to make a donation, in our program notes. Let's listen. Dr. Mara Munger, thank you so much for joining me in Public Health on Call from Jackson, Mississippi. How are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me today.
So I understand that you are not new to Jackson, Mississippi.
I am not new to Jackson. I am a native who has been born, bred, raised, and educated right here in the city of Jackson.
And tell our listeners what you do now in the city.
So right now, I am a public health professional as well as a community health, wellness, mental advocate. I am a community advocate for this city. I am a champion for the city of Jackson. Things that happen in and around the city of Jackson are very near and dear to my heart.
Now, I know you work some in healthcare, but you also have founded a project called the She Project. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh, the She Project. It is a mentoring organization for young African-American women. Our goal is to allow them a space and a platform where they can see outside of the 3 or 4 blocks of their neighborhood. So we want to also provide them with education and tools that the schools no longer provide. Financial literacy, teaching them about their own history, how to write a business plan, right? So we want to look at the whole girl and prepare her. And we also want to focus on health. So my background is both in public health as well as education. And what I've learned with those 2 educational degrees is that education and health go hand in hand. So the goal of the She Project is to marry those 2 things for these young women. Another major component is community service and response to community crisis. So we've been on the ground for COVID. We've been now on the ground for the water crisis here. So that's who the She Project is.
That sounds like incredible work and incredibly urgent work today. Could you explain what the experience of the young women you work with and the city in general has been since the flooding happened several weeks ago that affected the water supply?
Well, the water with the flooding, what happened here in this city is that the major sources of drinking and daily consumption water were no longer available. We literally had a breakdown in our systems. And what that breakdown did was it affected not only households, but it affected business, it affected school, it affected the community as a whole. As a result, there is no clean drinking water. There was not water that was safe for bathing, brushing your teeth, or cooking. Now, what many don't realize is prior to the flooding, we had actually already been under a boil water notice for almost 30 days. So we were already in a very dire situation, but the flooding caused us to go into crisis mode because water was no longer an option to even consume anymore.
And so what happened then? People just started distributing water, or was there a period of...
No, actually, initially what happened was there was mass pandemonium at gas stations, at grocery stores, with families trying to get water. And once the national media picked up the story, it's when the corporations, the National Guard was activated, all of these different things happened. But unfortunately, if it had not been for the flooding, I'm not certain if we would have gotten the attention we needed around this crisis.
Now, would you say that the problems even started before the 30 days of the boil water advisory?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. We have been on and off boil water notices for the past couple of years.
Couple of years?
Yes, for the past couple of years. We have been on and off boil water notices. So it has not been uncommon to have low water pressure or no water.
And so what do you attribute the deterioration of the core infrastructure of the city to? What's the bigger picture here?
I think the bigger picture here is that the city of Jackson is a primarily African-American city. It is also a city where people don't make a lot of money. So you're talking about poor people. And there has not been a worthy investment in the infrastructure of this city as a whole. Jackson is an older city. It is an old city. And anything old, whether it is a city, whether it is a person, there is maintenance that must be done to ensure systems operate properly. We have not done that. We have not done that. There has been patchwork. And patchwork is just that. It only works for a short amount of time.
And so you've seen the deterioration in the water infrastructure in Jackson happen during your years there. How is that set into the overall condition of Jackson? Is this sort of part of an overall deterioration for the city? Or would you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The city is, I knew this city when it was vibrant, I have chills right now. I remember it when it was the place that people wanted to come. Like everybody wanted to come to Jackson. It was the capital city. In the last few years, this no longer feels like the capital city. Businesses have fled the city. Very, very few major businesses have come into the city. And that kills the morale of a city as a whole when you have to travel almost 15 miles to get to if you live in the center of Jackson, there's about a 15-minute, 20-minute drive before you can even get to where you can buy decent clothing. So I have to go outside of my city just to go shopping. Unless it's Walmart, right? Every city has Walmart. But when you start to talk about the big box stores, there's not a Sam's, there's not a Costco in the city limits.
And what about movie theaters, say?
There are none. We just got our most recent small movie theater in a part of Jackson that is primarily white. That movie theater is the first movie theater we have probably had in about 7 years.
And it hasn't always been that way.
No. This city we had movie theaters in every aspect of the city, right? So you can go to North Jackson. There was a movie theater. There was one in South Jackson and West Jackson. So we had options, right? We don't even have a mall in the city of Jackson. There's not a mall.
So what I'm hearing from you is that people think that this is a water crisis caused by just floods. They're missing all the water problems. If they think it's just a water crisis,
correct,
they're missing the overall decline of Jackson. Correct. And it's something that doesn't just affect, businesses and water infrastructure.
This is a social determinant of health. Mm-hmm. This is an economic issue. This is a white flight issue. This is what happens to cities when white flight takes place. And they become abandoned.
And you work with young people who are left behind.
I do. I work with young people who are left behind, who, if they don't have reliable transportation, right? If their family doesn't have reliable transportation, not only does this put them in where, again, there's no entertainment around them, right? What kid doesn't want to go to a movie, right? Go to a theater. But we're also creating an issue where these young people it's affecting them mentally because they're seeing all of this stuff around them And it's like there's no one here to help. What about us? You've forgotten about who we are. That then contributes to the brain drain of the state as a whole. Because it's not that I just want to leave Jackson. Now it's I want to leave Mississippi. So we're losing as a state simply because the capital city has been abandoned.
It sounds like what you're saying in a way is these challenges facing Jackson, young people in a way take it personally.
Oh, absolutely. They take it personally. Jackson is the home of three universities that are right in the center of Jackson, one being one of the largest HBCUs in the state. We have kids who have come from all over the country, from all over the world to attend school here. And here in their first couple of weeks of school, they have no working water at their school. The school had to delay, Jackson State had to delay being open because of this water issue. And this is prior to the water issue that hit the news. And then just a couple of weeks later, we ran into the exact same issue. And so absolutely, how do you keep young people here to do the work if their very first experience with this state, with this city, is non-viable water for drinking, for bathing, for brushing their teeth?
So you mentioned earlier that the nation is now paying attention, and that has at least brought more organization, more businesses to help distribute water. How much good do you think can come out of this moment?
I believe everything happens for a reason. And so what I'm hoping now is there's a national spotlight on what crumbling infrastructure really looks like. I know that our current president has been working on infrastructure bills to get things in place, but this is a in-person live view of what happens when infrastructure fails. When infrastructure fails, it's not just the equipment that is failing. There are cities that are failing. There are kids that are failing. I mean, kids have not been able to go to school for another week. And we're just coming off of COVID, where we know that education for many kids is going to be way behind. And here again, our kids have to be out of school for a week because of an issue around water. So the presumption that it's just an issue of infrastructure is completely and utterly inaccurate. This is an issue of community. This is an issue of businesses. No business wants to invest in a city that they're concerned that they may not be able to use water.
It sounds like the spotlight is very important, and it's got to stay on Jackson until these problems really start to get solved.
Absolutely.
I hate to ask this question, but how optimistic are you that you'll see major change?
I'm afraid, because whenever something like this happens, it's either going to go one or the other way, right? Either resources are really going to pour in, and it's not going to be temporary. This is not the National Guard, all of that is wonderful, but that is a temporary fix for a long-term problem. So either we're going to get the long-term fix, or it's only going to get worse. It is my hope, it is my prayer that we get the long-term fix. But I will be honest, because of the cost that it would take to truly improve the infrastructure of this city, I don't have great faith that we're going to fix the problem in its entirety.
Well, I
don't.
I do appreciate, though, that you're in it for the long-term fix for Jackson.
I am in it for the long term. I've been asked many times to move away from Jackson. I've been offered opportunities that could take me away from Jackson. But Jackson is my home. And I don't believe it can get better if everybody leaves, if everybody runs. So I'm here. I am boots on the ground. I'm going to be here to serve my community, whether it is community health, whether it's community education, whether it's just community access. I am here to serve my community.
I want to end maybe with this program that you run, the She Project. What do you tell the young women this program as they ask questions about their own future in Jackson?
I let them know that, again, to whom much is given, much is required. And I'm going to give you the tools. we're going to give you the tools. The She Project is going to give you the tools. And so my ask is that you take those tools and that you use it to make your neighborhood, your school, whatever environment you're in, make that environment just a little bit better based off the tools that you've received. And that their future is as bright as they want it to be. If they enjoy traveling, we can travel, we can go, we can do. But let's remember the place that's grooming you to be the person that you are. And let's remember to give a little bit back to that city as much as we possibly can.
Well, I can't help think about how much is owed to you and the people that you're working with in Jackson to make those dreams a reality. So thank you so much for joining us on Public Health on Call.
Thank you so much for having me.
Public Health on Call is produced by Joshua Sharfstein, Lindsay Smith-Rogers, and Stephanie Desmond. Audio production by J.B. Arbogast, Holly Cardinell, Spencer Greer, and Matthew Martin with support from Chip Hickey. Distribution by Nick Moran. Production support from Catherine Ricardo. Social media run by Grace Holes Fernandez and Amber Bryan Singletary. Thank you for listening.